Hey, everybody. We're live, and just say hello. Let me know where you're from. We are going to have a whole lot of unique, fun things to talk about today. And I see a couple people have signed on, so awesome. Welcome. Let me know where you're from. If you can, that would be wonderful. It will also enter you for our giveaway today. And there's Dawn, excellent, and Kate from California, two of my besties out there. Hello. We're going to be talking about fashion, quilted fashion today. We're going to be talking about the Vintage Notions book. We're going to be talking about some events coming up. And there's Sherry. Welcome, Sherry. Nancy from Texas. Everybody's jumping on. Welcome. Please, if you're watching, just type where you're from and let us know. We have lots of people from all over that love vintage like I do, and it's kind of a fun Friday afternoon to learn some new things, maybe share your knowledge and what you love about vintage textiles, vintage notions. And there's Kathleen. Great. She's out there in Wyoming. Excellent. So welcome, everybody. I'm in Kansas City. We've had some sun today. We have a few clouds, but we're hoping we've got some rain coming. So I'm hoping to get outside in a little bit later, and hope you guys have some great weather too out there. And there's Diane. Excellent. Great. You made it, Diane. Excellent. Okay, everybody. I'm Amy Berrickman, and we're here to talk about a variety of things. And we do this every Friday, most Fridays at 1 Central. So if you're new to the feed, welcome. If you're new to the live, and we do have a giveaway every week. So I'm going to start out by telling you guys about the giveaway. So last week we talked about garments made out of quilts, old quilts, cutter quilts as we called it. And I was wearing this vest, which is a log cabin, and I never showed you the back of it. So there you can see the back of it. So I thought this week for our giveaway, I would offer you an opportunity to win some patterns, some Indigo Junction patterns that I have in my stash, and ones that I thought would be really work well for sewing garments out. If you had a vintage quilt, maybe one with some damage. You can see back here, I have an example I shared last week. So you guys can have a chance to find a pattern that would work well. And so here are the 3 patterns that are the giveaway this week, everybody. And first, what I'm wearing, this is the mandarin vest. And you can see I have it on in a fabric that is actually a fabric line I did a few years ago called Kyoto. And it had some really interesting Asian prints. My mom actually called me about an hour ago, and we had been talking about which of our Indigo Junction patterns might work well as to upcycle old quilts using. And we talked about this one, the vest, and this wrap. You can see here is another one. And she said, "Oh yeah, Amy, I have a quilted version of the mandarin vest." So I said, "Well, bring it on over." And here I am wearing it. So again, what she recommended too with this pattern, this is the mandarin vest, and her thought was maybe the collar, you might want to reduce the height of the collar, because when you use a quilted material layers, you're going to have a little more stiffness. But actually, I think it's a great, it's really actually working well. It doesn't bother me too much to have this higher collar. And I'm going to show you there on this pattern, there are 2 lengths. There's like more of a kind of a longer, a little more down to your lower hip length. And then there's the shorter style you can see here. So this is the mandarin vest. So everybody comment. Actually, if you can comment as to which is your favorite out of these 3 patterns that I show you, I think that would be a great way to enter for our prize today, which is the patterns and then this is the 5-way wrap. Okay. And here it's shown in like polar fleece. But the neat thing about this wrap is it can be worn 5 different ways. You can belt it, you can flip it upside down, and it's like more of a cape. So this 5-way wrap we thought would be great for potentially maybe not a thick quilt with batting, but more like a summer weight quilt that might just have a couple layers. And then lastly is the cozy quilted coat. And you can see with this coat, the instructions were actually in the pattern to quilt the material and then make it into a jacket. So what I'm going to tell you to do here is just use the silhouette and the pattern pieces. If you have a vintage quilt, a cutter quilt you want to use. So those are the 3. We'll say you can write coat for the quilted coat. You can put vest for the mandarin vest, and wrap for the 5-way wrap. Okay, everybody got it? So there you have our prize. Enter to win. So I mentioned last week, again, I'm going to follow up on a couple things from last week. We talked about making button flowers maybe on Mother's Day with your family. We talked about my Buttonware book being a great resource for ideas for your button stash. And so we actually did that. And I wanted to share the flowers, a little example of some these are actually ones my mom made. So Donna, great job. I don't know if you're watching, Donna, but there's Michelle saying hello. Michelle's here helping me, you guys. And she's watching the comments. And there's Patty, and she's watching from Indiana. And I see Michelle. Hey, Michelle. Michelle, my friend from Connecticut, it is here. And so these are the buttons, flowers that my mom created during our Mother's Day celebration with our family. And my nephew, Gordon, actually made some flowers. So that was kind of fun. It was an activity that the whole family could enjoy. But I wanted to show you a couple of Donna's, and I love this one in particular. Many of them have mother of pearl, but this one in particular has like a rhinestone button that had a shank. So she did those. So Donna comes through for me every time, doesn't she? With just really awesome makes. And there you see a really gorgeous full-on pearl. So you can see the combination here of like the creams and the black. And it made me realize that we had a bracelet in the Buttonware book, now that I have to find it in my pile over here, that reminded me of the color and the styling that she'd done her flowers in. So I don't know if you can see. These were actually all, I think, newer pearl buttons and I think maybe Robin McIntosh created this for the Buttonware book. But I just wanted you to see how it was beaded and strung, and there's a really nice clasp too here. So again, you can see those, and I just hope you maybe are inspired to do something like this with your buttons. And one more example, as I was going through looking for some button projects, here's one more example of how, Michelle, can you see these okay? How is it looking? And sometimes I don't know if I'm holding things well enough for you to see or how our light is, but the fun thing about this little bouquet was it's just, various pastel colors all finished with a white button on top. So I thought, that was just another inspiring possibility for your buttons. And so there you have that. And since we're talking about flowers, this will give me a chance to share the flowers I have today on. And aren't these gorgeous peonies? I don't know how many out there. If you have peonies blooming, let me know. There's Pamela from Ohio. Hi, Pamela. So again, these gorgeous peonies. And note down here the idea that I share quite frequently, to take those mother of pearl buttons and use them in your vases with your flowers. So these just are phenomenal. And what I learned about picking peonies, that the best time to pick them, to bring them in, is when they're in they call it the marshmallow stage. So this is like a squishy marshmallow stage. And that's when you want to cut and bring your peonies in and enjoy them throughout their full blooms. So I just love those. And I love spring and flowers. So let's talk more about flowers. And let's talk about flowers in the Vintage Notions book. So this is the pocket for that's going into the summer chapter. And this, I'm just showing you how this pocket works. And I also have the original textile to share with you. So that's one of the things today I said I'd like to do. So I'm not only going to share with you this embroidery, the original, I'm also going to share with you this, what I believe is a feed sack pattern, feed sack fabric. And there's somebody from Iowa, Marianne. Hi, Marianne. Oh, and yours are not. Michelle says her peonies aren't blooming yet. Well, it should be around the corner. Ours are gorgeous in Kansas City. I'll tell you, we've had the most beautiful spring. Green grass everywhere. It's awesome. So hope wherever you guys are, you're enjoying some of the beautiful color of spring. So there you have the page. And now I'm going to show you the original. So here is the original dresser scarf that was featured on that page. And you can see the basket and the embroidery. I'll try to get it up close a little so you can see a little bit more of the detail. Looks French knots all around the edge. And then what I found another dresser scarf that was similar, that it just has a different look in my collection this morning when I was going through things. So I wanted to share this one. This one has a little more of a modern feel to me. So I just had to share it. And I think those are, yes, there's a lot of little tiny French knots that are featured in this piece. And then last but not least, my newest favorite item to research and collect are feed sacks. And hello, everybody. There's Kate. Thanks, Kate. So this feed sack is the one that I showed you that was on the page of the pocket. But, you know, I hadn't realized this. So I dug it out of my Vintage Notions textile box, and I found that it had this great border on the bottom. So, you know, it's always fun to see a new design element in something. And this, anyway, the color, I love the color in the feed sacks, in the prints. I was just talking to yesterday Gloria Nixon, who wrote the book Feed Sack Secrets, and she was talking about how many feed sacks she had in her collection, and I believe she has over 1,000. I know there are many people who collect feed sacks, and there are many, many, many prints out there. So learning about them and collecting them is one of my new fascinations when it comes to vintage. So I got through the textiles, and one thing I also wanted to show you about the Vintage Notions book is the testimonials. And since it's open to this page, this says Just Among Us, and you can see the graphic up there too. It's just a woman sitting at a table writing a letter. These days we might be sitting at a computer, but again, learning about the experiences of over 100 years ago, women that were in the Women's Institute. And, you know, this is my favorite, one of my favorite quotes. I think we talked about it last week. And it talks about faith in my own two hands and how this school really empowered through creative skills, mostly, you know, particularly women, to find pleasure or profit from their sewing, improving and learning and growing their appreciation of fabric and textiles and needlework. So again, that's Vintage Notions. And after I wrote Vintage Notions, I went on to do Vintage Notions Monthly. And Lee says, hello, everybody. Hi, Lee. Just seeing you jump on. Thanks for joining us. So continuing that story of the Women's Institute, I have done that with my Vintage Notions monthly issues. And I thought we're talking about May and spring, so I thought I'd share the covers. And this issue has and maybe some of you guys are thinking about graduations over the next few weeks. I have exciting news. My son is actually graduating on this Sunday, and my husband and I are pretty excited about that. He's over there at K-State, so we'll be heading out on the tall grass prairie this Sunday and watching his commencement event. And I just remembered this article is all about fashion for graduates. And just in these magazines, these Women's Institute collections that I've put together, there are amazing descriptions of fashion, from the minute detail of the ribbon added on a sleeve or the embroidery. So again, I'm not going to get into sharing all the details on this. But I just thought you'd enjoy seeing some of those fashions from 100 years ago and graduation, how gorgeous those ladies were. And then again, this is issue 5 and this is issue 17. So, and the one, let's see, this is the issue that each issue has a magic pattern. This is kind of a fun one. It's a mother-daughter combo, and you're seeing a ton of that in fashion right now, the matching or coordinating outfits. This is kind of a fun off-your-shoulder blouse. And I just wanted to share that. And then, again, as you look through the magazines, the fashions are just eye candy, really fun. Here's another one. So I think, if you love garment sewing or just fashion in general, these are really interesting to look through. In fact, one more, I have to share that. Look at that great cape and that great dress. It's amazing how the details from 100 years ago can inspire things that you're doing today and what you're making today. Okay, speaking of making today and learning, there's an exciting event happening next weekend, and it's called Making Her Story, and it's happening here in Kansas City at the Sewing Labs. I shared it in my newsletter, so I don't know if you're new, please think about signing up for my newsletter. And that event, I'm going to be doing a presentation on Saturday, and it's So Vintage is the name of the presentation. And I'll be taking a collection of my upcycled vintage projects that we've created over the years in books and patterns, and sharing those and inspiring. The good news is, if you don't live near the region and you can't get to the actual event, that they have a virtual option for you. So Michelle will help me out and put the link in the comments. You could also go to amyberrickman.com/events to find the details, not only about this event, but then there's also a quilt show coming up in the middle of June here in Kansas City, and we will have a booth there. So, but really think about this virtual event and participating. They're having some wonderful talent from Kansas City. Our HGTV star, Tamara Day, she is going to be the keynote speaker on Friday night, and then Saturday there's a panel in the morning with You might have heard me talk about the Strawberry Swing, our handmade fair. And Katie, she is amazing. She's going to be part of a panel along with several other Kansas City women entrepreneurs in the creative field. So please think about that as a fun way to learn something new, meet some new inspiring makers and creative businesses. So yes, that I wanted to cover. And I also wanted to tell you, I promised I'd share some of my new finds that I've recently acquired when I've been able to get out and do some shopping, antiquing, vintage, traveling. I try to I have a wonderful antique mall in Kansas City called the Glenwood Antique Mall, and it's over on Metcalf. And I will show you a couple things that I found there in the last few weeks. So first off, this is kind of a really cool, this box it was sitting open in a booth, and you can see what caught my eye was that turkey, and thinking about turkey red. And this was obviously maybe a box that was used as a display for embroidery potentially originally. And so when it comes to turkey red is was the bright colored red fabric that started to be produced over in England, the Netherlands, and France in the 1740s. And it was very sought after because it was color fast. And so that's what this referenced, was the color fastness of the red. So when I was looking, you guys remember this quilt that I'm hoping to have made into a garment, a jacket or a coat or a vest. And there's Vicki. Hi, Vicki. I try to check, and there's Cindy from Muscatine. Hi, Cindy. Try to check in on these comments every so often and say hello to you guys. So this one thing, my friend Donna, who is a quilt expert that I often, she often answers questions for me quickly. She mentioned to me, Amy, make sure you wash and make sure this is color fast red. And so before we make it into a quilt, I think we'll definitely confirm that it is that wonderful turkey red fabric. So many quilts ended up being made in the 1800s, early 1900s with that turkey red. And speaking of quilts and quilt, another new or recent acquisition, this is my second copy of this, but it's a different date than the original. And this is the quilt pattern catalog from the Ladies Art Company that was based in St. Louis. And this is what I based my coloring book on when I created my quilt therapy coloring book. And maybe Michelle can share that with you guys too. This is the booklet, the vintage booklet that I found that drew me to all these different various blocks and their names. So this company was really the originator of quilt patterns with specific names. Now, many times over the years, they had different names depending on the region or the era. But this is a really wonderful piece that I wanted to share, especially since we were talking about quilts and talking about red. And then one more new treasure to share with you is, I don't know if you guys like bandanas, but I love design, surface design, and bandanas are always fun and interesting. And there's Donna. Hi, Mom. And there's Patricia. I'm lucky to have fabric in antique stores. Yes, I am. Kansas City's a great town for antiquing and vintage shopping and estate sales. So this is a really nice example of a bandana, and I'm going to flip it around. I have a nice collection already. And in fact, I created a fabric line based on vintage hankies. Gosh, it's been at least 10 years ago. I just feel like they're a timeless style that just you can't go wrong with. Ooh, we're flashing a little with this camera with the red. So in fact, this bandanas in my Vintage Modern Makers membership, bandanas is a theme that we focused on too. And I'll be sharing more about the makers primers here in the next couple months. So, or if you're going to be at the quilt show in Kansas City, we'll have a really nice display of projects from the Vintage Modern Makers membership. So keep that in mind, everybody who might be able to join me in Kansas City. So I'll open this up and share a little more of the design. So that's another little treasure. Let me look at my notes and make sure I've covered everything. We know that we're going to, we need to pick a winner, right, Michelle?
Yes, we do.
We've talked about buttons. We've talked about turkey red. We've talked about Vintage Notions monthlies. So I'll show you one more time for anybody who's just new hopped on. This is the turkey red embroidery box that I've recently added to my collection. And I think in big letters it says beware, and it's telling you to beware of imitations that aren't the true turkey red. So and this is just anytime you're doing embroidery, especially with red, I think it's always color fast test your embroidery floss, because once in a while I've gotten a bad batch that actually ran. The color ran. So I'd say always, maybe before you're stitching anything that's really going to be time consuming, make sure you test that to confirm that. I like to make and wear bandanas. Wonderful, Nancy. And there's Pam. Hi, Pam. Hello. Hi, Maureen. Welcome, everybody. So there you have it. There's the little turkey. And I'm going to show the patterns one more time that we're giving away. And then we'll maybe, Michelle will help me with the name. You're our Vanna White, Michelle.
I have the name ready if you're ready. Okay, so I'm going to show you one last time what I'm wearing. Well, that's not it. There it is. This is the Mandarin vest, and it's actually quilted. Donna quilted it. So we know it works well with quilts or quilted fabric. Everybody comment, tell me which you want. The vest, the wrap is the second pattern, or the coat, right? And there's the coat. This is quite a combination of prints. Really kind of funky and fun. All right, so those are the three patterns that are our giveaway this week. And Michelle, there's Lynn. Hi, Lynn. Who's our winner? Hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly. Cindy Demeter Hams.
Cindy Demeter Hams. Yes, you are the winner, and you like the vest. That's my friend Cindy, and I'm excited you won, Cindy. We'll be putting those patterns in the mail. So anybody who's out there, when you win, if you can DM me your address, or excuse me, yeah, your email, and then we'll, and your address, and we'll get it in the mail. You could also info@amybarackman.com is also where you can go ahead and share your info, and we'll get the prize out there. And I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Enjoying, if you have a graduation, you have a wonderful, hopefully nice weather to be outside if that's where your graduation is happening. And I will look forward to next Friday. Thanks everybody who's been hanging on and watching, and keep in touch. Take care.